So if you like esports, you probably hate cheaters. It's just that simple. So when Riot unveiled Valorant, they did so with the promise of stopping hackers right in their tracks. But it comes at a cost. An intrusive piece of software called Vanguard that runs on your computer constantly. So what's the deal with this thing? Is it a breach of privacy? Or is this what it takes to actually catch the cheaters? Let me give you all the answers.
Keith, what are you doing?
I'm just trying to order some food quickly.
We're in the middle of a shoot.
Dan, relax. It's 5 o'clock. That means I can use my Grubhub daily perk, and I can get some value when I order this pizza.
Are you really doing this right now?
Yeah, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., I can use Grubhub's daily perk to get $10 off when I spend $30 at select restaurants, and then I can support my favorite places during COVID-19.
Alright, fine. We're swapping in Devin this week.
Fine, go deal with him.
Devin, are you also ordering food?
I mean, yeah, of course, dude. Why wouldn't I? It's safe, it's easy, there's contact-free delivery, so I don't have to go outside, and I get to support my favorite places. So, I mean, it's 2020, Dan. Come on.
Okay, fine. We're going back to Keith, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, cool. I got my order in, so let's get back to the story. So Valorant is out in closed beta, and I think it's safe to say that so far, it's a massive success. The game gives you that crisp and clean Counter-Strike-esque gun feel, it's dominating on Twitch, and to me, it looks like it has a pretty bright future as far as competitive play and esports goes. And that's been Riot's plan all along. From the very beginning, the first announcement, they advertised high server tick rates, optimized performance and high frames, and of course, a powerful anti-cheat system. That system is called Vanguard. It downloads with Valorant, asks you to restart your computer, and then runs on startup from then on out, even when you're not playing Valorant. This thing is just always chugging along in the background, and for some people, that's pretty unsettling. There's been a lot of backlash about just how intrusive this program is, and whether or not that level of invasiveness is necessary in an anti-cheat program. People all over the internet have been calling this a breach of privacy, and many are looking at Riot and Tencent, the company that owns them in China, who are also very close with the Chinese government, and questioning their motives. But with that in mind, today, I'm gonna try to dispel a lot of misinformation about this subject. And to do that, I called in some experts. I spoke with a guy who goes by GamerDoc. He runs an organization called the Overwatch Police Department. We spoke to him for a Don't At Me episode we did a few weeks ago. They infiltrate cheating circles, get cheaters banned, notify developers about new cheats. They're basically the Batman of getting cheaters caught.
Murder me!
Being an expert on the subject of cheating, I wanted to get his take on Valorant early on, how intrusive this software actually was, and some of the early reports of cheating in the game. And the first thing he told me was that he'd actually already caught a wall hacker basically 48 hours after the closed beta dropped.
The engine that the game is running on is Unreal Engine 4, and there's source codes for that. There's a lot of things. So you can make cheats really easy on Valorant because of its engine. The anti-cheat is where it says, nah, you're not getting in this game. It just throws you out, basically. So you need to find a way to bypass that anti-cheat in order to get your cheat in there. And also, you also have to maintain it undetected. And that is going to be really hard with this anti-cheat, with the information it gathers on cheaters.
According to GamerDoc, if you actually want to catch cheaters, like you're actually serious about this, your software needs to be intrusive. Full stop. If your anti-cheat isn't, their cheat will be, and you're sunk.
Every modern cheat is running ring 0, because why not? Why would you not? You're just not gonna get detected.
The fact is, there's so much money in selling cheats that there will always be another programmer willing to go the extra mile to cheat the system. And because of that, it's imperative that programs like Vanguard run on startup and run constantly, because if they don't, the cheats themselves will. And then the problem just continues.
I promise you this, if any company is not being intrusive with their anti-cheat, they're not gonna detect any cheat. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, Blizzard really respects privacy, and they're being really stubborn about it. And I can understand that. But cheats are gonna become more intrusive and more intrusive. It's not going to stop at all.
Remember, like, the day after Valorant opened in closed beta, everyone was watching it on Twitch, and we heard about cheaters, like, right away? Well, it was actually GamerDoc who helped catch them.
There's one internal cheats that we have found. We gave it to Riot. Riot has completely nuked that cheat and actually banned a couple of people.
He told me, like, double-digit accounts were banned, and this is just right off the hop.
Cover going out. Ultimate is ready. Killed.
Be faster.
It's important to note that this program, for the most part, it catches cheaters. It doesn't stop them from cheating in the first place. And just a few days after launch, we've already seen some cheaters caught. And once this thing goes live, we know that there's going to be more. So that's why this kind of intrusive software is so important. Okay, so now let's get into how Vanguard actually works and do a little bit of myth busting. Let me try to break down the technical side of this based on my interviews. Vanguard uses what's called a kernel driver, which boots up on your computer before your user mode starts to work. Kernel drivers start up in the kernel layer of your computer. And I mean, for you and for me, who had a hard time understanding all of this, here's a chart that helped me out. Basically, it's necessary for an anti-cheat to boot up and take a virtual snapshot of your computer before it boots into its user mode. And what the user mode is that's the version of your computer that me and you use, with all your programs, you know, your web browser, your games, all that stuff. This way, the program can see if anything's changed from that original snapshot, the one that it takes as soon as you boot your computer, and identify if you're cheating. And this is what separates it from a program that would start as soon as you boot up Valorant, because there'd be no way for it to tell if a cheat had launched during your startup before you jumped into your user mode. I know it's a little convoluted, but the best way I can describe it is that if cheaters are designing cheats to go deeper into your computer, then the anti-cheat has to be just as intrusive. And to better understand the technical side of this, I spoke to a guy named Carl Shu. He goes searching for exploits in games as a hobby and posts them to his website so that game developers can go in and stop the cheats in their tracks.
The primary goal of an anti-cheat is to being able to detect any behavior on the computer that isn't like normal, whatever, like what you would classify as malicious behavior, because there are some things that never should happen on a computer. And like patching the Windows kernel should never happen. That's why it's exactly the same thing that antiviruses look for. And to be able to detect manipulations like that, you kind of need to be able to monitor the entire system, which is what most of the normal gamers would classify as intrusive, because you need higher privileges, you need like full system control over the machine.
Carl actually wrote an article trying to disseminate some of this exact same misinformation about Vanguard just a few days ago. Maybe the most prominent thing that he said to me that stood out from this whole conversation is that software like this isn't new at all, even though it's right now that we're talking about it. Also, according to him, it doesn't offer much more invasion than when you just boot up a game regularly. Face It, for example, in Counter-Strike, has been using intrusive anti-cheat software for years. He even told me that peripherals like your mouse and keyboard use kernel drivers just like Vanguard. There's really not that much stopping your everyday tech company who made your keyboard from accessing your information either.
There's a reason why that barely no malware is ever written to go kernel, because you simply do not need it. Like if you need to spy on someone, it'd be much easier to just do it from user mode. It's much easier to hide as well. If you're scared of Riot games, like monitoring your computer, you shouldn't play the game at all.
So what we've really got here is a new game from Riot with a piece of software that a lot of people were concerned about early on. But after doing a little bit of digging, I think it's pretty safe to say that it's actually not as uncommon as people think. And honestly, it's starting to become the standard. After speaking with two experts, I think there is one very simple takeaway from all of this. If you really want a cheater-free experience, you're going to have to be okay with intrusive anti-cheats. Those are just the facts. And Riot Games actually mirrored this sentiment in the recent patch notes, where they acknowledged that there was some backlash against the anti-cheat, but maintained that this was the best way to keep their game clean from cheaters. Look, by no means am I a genius when it comes to computers. Like many of you, I've built one, which is more or less Lego, and I use one for work. So when I hear words like intrusive, I get a little spooked too. I mean, who wouldn't? I don't want my privacy to be impacted. But after talking to GamerDoc and Carl, I think it's pretty clear that Riot is more or less following an industry standard. Look, at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide whether you're comfortable about this or not. But from what I can tell, at least right now, there doesn't seem to be anything malicious going on. This is the thing, right? It's like those games were like designed to be able to cheat in. So like for example, like I mean, for me it was probably like Tony Hawk. Like I remember like unlocking like new skateboards, and like I think you could like play Tony Hawk as like a Reaper or something. We had this joke growing up when we were kids that we dressed like default skaters, because like there would always be like the default skater from Tony Hawk or from Skate, where like my friends would always say that we all dress like default skaters. It was funny.